Okay, here we go. This is the briefing for the week of January 3rd, 2020. A look at what you missed from the headlines while you were out there starting a New Year's resolution. Let's take a look. Some breaking news this week as U.S. forces killed the head of Iran's security and intelligence forces in a drone strike near the Baghdad airport. Major General Qasem Soleimani was the head of the powerful Quds force of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, who led a constellation of militia groups in Iraq and the region. Soleimani's operations in Iraq are also estimated to have killed up to 1,000 Americans in IED attacks during the war. Soleimani was killed after a turbulent week that saw U.S. forces strike 11 Iranian-linked Hezbollah targets in Iraq after an attack on a base that killed one American contractor and wounded several troops. That strike prompted violent protests at the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, which triggered the Pentagon to send 100 Marines to help reinforce security there, and elements of the 82nd Airborne Division to Kuwait as backup. Tension around the death of Soleimani continued that effort, and on Friday the Pentagon ordered the deployment of several thousand more paratroopers to the region. For more on what led to the sharp escalation in Iraq, here are Military Times reporters Sean Snow and Philip Athey with our reporting from earlier this week.
On Sunday, December 29th, U.S.-American F-15E Strike Eagles launched a series of 5 strikes against an Iranian-backed militia group known as Camp Hezbollah. Camp Hezbollah is an Iranian-backed militia. This organization falls under the larger banner that is known as Popular Mobilization Forces. Popular Mobilization Forces are predominantly Shia groups that rose in the chaos of ISIS's scourge across Iraq in 2014. They have backing of a large swath of the Iraqi population. They fold under the Iraqi security forces, and they also help defeat ISIS. So a strike against this group is kind of complicated and a little bit tricky for American officials to navigate through because, in a way, we're wading through domestic Iraqi politics. The United States may be wading into a larger, more heated proxy conflict with Iran across the Middle East. On Tuesday, hundreds, if not thousands, of protesters marched on the U.S. Embassy protesting the U.S.-led strikes that hit the Iranian-backed militia group.
Protests that happened this week in Baghdad turned into a real concern for the U.S. military. Protesters broke into the American embassy compound in Baghdad, setting fire to a reception area and breaking down one of the main doors. In response to that, the American military sent 100 Marines from Kuwait as part of a special purpose MAGTF, the unit specifically designed to respond to these type of events. At the same time, 2 Apache airships were sent to provide overwatch at the embassy, and they were seen shooting flares over the protesters. The Department of Defense mobilized 750 soldiers with the 82nd Airborne Division and sent them to Kuwait and prepared for any further attempts on the embassy. While the situation has calmed down now, tensions are still high in the region. The speed at which the militia was able to enter into the embassy compound and even threaten the embassy itself, it really highlighted how important it is for the American military to keep its eye on tensions in the region and aware of how easily or how vulnerable they are in Iraq.
That's it for this breaking news update. For more coverage, visit militarytimes.com and our social media platforms and follow us on YouTube and Facebook. Now here's Andrea with the rest of the headlines for this week.
The biggest military pay raise in years took effect this week as the calendar turned to 2020. Troops across the board were scheduled for a 3.1% raise, the biggest one since 2010. That means about $800 more per year for junior enlisted troops and $1,500 annually for senior enlisted and junior officers. But is it too much? A Rand Corporation study recently concluded that military pay was set too high relative to that of civilians with similar education and experience. The study said paying troops too much could disincentivize performance and retention. Sacrilege. Let's move on. The Russian military says it has deployed a new hypersonic missile that can cut through U.S. defense systems. The Avangard hypersonic glide vehicle is said to be able to fly at 27 times the speed of sound and can carry nuclear payload. Hyped by Russian President Vladimir Putin as a game-changing weapon, the missile is said to be already operational. Okay, take me to Camp Lejeune. Every Marine's waking nightmare is still playing out at Camp Lejeune in North Carolina as Marines there have been searching for 2 rifles that went missing during a training exercise. The rifles were reported AWOL a little before Christmas. The details are still scarce, but NCIS confirms it has opened an investigation into the matter. More on that as it develops. Okay, just time for one more story to take you into the new year. Here's the president comparing actual Air Force fighter pilots to Tom Cruise, who's playing Maverick in Top Gun.
They're better looking than Tom Cruise, okay? Good movie. Good guy, too, by the way. The face is equal, maybe slightly better. The body's bigger and stronger. They can definitely, just like me now. They can definitely fight. They're the real deal. These guys are so good looking. I said, you could be a movie star. Go to Hollywood. No, sir, I like doing what I'm doing.
And that's all we have time for you here on The Briefing for the first week of 2020. Check us out on Facebook and Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marine Corps Times.com to get more coverage of these stories and more. All right, time to start those New Year's resolutions. And go.